welcome back to another video, and in today's video we have every NXT person's chances of getting called up in this year's draft. Now we know this will be happening reportedly, so today we're just going to go giving everybody what we think their odds are.
Yeah, obviously if we put you at 0%, that doesn't mean you're bad or anything, but that might mean you're involved in a story that won't end before the draft, or maybe you're just young to the NXT roster and you just gotta go through the work as they kind of make you do.
Yeah, we're gonna kick things off with Andre Chase. What are his chances of getting called up?
Definitely not 0, but on the lower end, so I would say 25 for him.
Yeah, I could see it. I think he can probably use another year in NXT. He has a kind of a little story, right? He has to like rebuild himself, maybe kind of get like a more developed character than out of a school teacher. But yeah, next up, Ariana Grace.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say actually 0 for her, just because she's a big part of the NXT crossover. She does a lot of commentary for them and backstage segments with her dad, Santino Marella. So I'm going to say 0 for her.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We don't see her too often anyway in our wrestling aspects, so I think it doesn't really make sense to call her out all unless they plan on giving her the Dijak treatment. But next up, Ashante the Adonis.
Honestly, he could be called up at any moment. He was already part of that main roster. So, I mean, honestly, he could be in 75 and he could be in 25. Like, he could kind of be in either way, honestly.
Yeah, I could see him getting caught up. However, I honestly think we'll see him. We won't be seeing him caught up. I'll probably put him, honestly, in that 25% chance.
Yeah, he does have a kind of ongoing story right now with Carmen Petrovic at the moment, so I guess, that could be something to maybe even put him in 0.
Yeah, but we're going to put him in 25 for now?
Yeah, I think 25 is fine.
Alright, next up is Axiom. What do we think?
So obviously for both Axiom and Nathan Frazier, they will both be going at 100% in my opinion. I think they deserve it. I think the moment would be huge for them, and it's the right time with the main roster tag team division developing in both Raw and SmackDown at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they're easily the best things about the brand, so it's about time. And plus, on a tag team division that is kind of struggling on the main roster, obviously this is kind of the same, but for the NXT ones, because they don't have that one big powerhouse team. But at least now Axiom are on the big stage now. But next up, we have Brooks Jensen. What do we think?
Yeah, definitely not going to be a call-up here. I'm going to say 0%. At the moment, he's part of the Shawn Spears faction that he has going on, so I think he's pretty safe in NXT at the moment.
Yeah, I can definitely see him probably being at 0. I don't really think he'll get caught up either. But next up, we have Stax. Probably another 0, to be honest, just because I don't see him going up with Tony, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 0 as well. He's kind of in an ongoing potential story, at least, where he's potentially going to be turning on Tony D at any moment now. Could be already done by the recording of this video, maybe. But yeah, definitely in 0 for me.
Yeah, and then next up, Corey Jade. Now for this one, honestly, I'm thinking probably about a 50%, just because I feel like it'd be a really cool story if she were to get caught up first out of her group, but then also be the first one to win a champion as well, just so she can have that one over on Roxanne Perez potentially to have their eventual storyline. But what do we think?
Yeah, I would be cool with 75 or 50. I think she could go up to the main roster. She does sell really good. She does have good moves. However, I don't think she's quite ready yet.
Yeah. And then next up, we have Dante Chin.
Yeah, haven't seen pretty much anything from him. Might have seen one match maybe, but I'm going to go ahead and say 0.
Alright, and then Eddie Thorpe follows that.
They seem to like him quite a bit, the way they're using him currently at least. However, I'm going to say 25.
Yeah, I'd honestly maybe even knock him up a little bit more, just because even though I don't care for him, I could see him being one of those guys on the SmackDown to fill up the roster as well. So I might be thinking about like a 50%, to be honest.
Yeah, it's whatever. You could put him at 50 if you like. I don't think he'll get called up, but I guess we'll see.
The next up, I think this is Idris Enofe, I believe his name is. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah, haven't seen anything from him. Don't know anything about him, so it's gonna be a 0.
The next up, Ethan Page.
Probably a good first 75% here. Definitely is ready for the main roster, and is good enough in all aspects. But I think they might want to keep him around just because the men's division is a little lacking at the moment.
Yeah, I can see that. But then next up, I believe this is Fallon Henley. What do we think?
Yeah, Fallon Henley, I mean, she was already a singles champion as part of NXT with the North American Women's Champion. She could be called up for sure. I would say 50 or 75.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind putting her in the 75 category. I think the only reason for me why she gets knocked down is simply because she is in this group with Fatal Influence with JC Jane and Jasmine Nix, so it makes sense to keep her in NXT for a little bit longer as well. In a similar situation, Gigi Dolan is next.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just haven't ever really been a huge fan of her in-ring work. She's pretty cool. You know, I like her character and all that stuff. Her faction's good and all that. However, I haven't been a huge fan of her in-ring work. Don't think she's ready, and that's unfortunate because she's been part of the NXT roster for quite a while now, and it seems like it'd be about time. However, I think maybe one more year could do something good for her.
Yeah, I definitely think she'll probably be staying in for a little while. But I think she isn't too far off, and honestly, I think there's a 50% chance. And I do think if they were to call her up, it probably would be with Shotzi and Tatum Paxton as well, to be honest.
Maybe put her with Alba, and she's the new she's the new one. But yeah, moving on to Hank and Tank. Yeah, I don't know which one's which, but we're gonna rank them both either way. They've been improving, and they're really good. They have a lot of crowd interaction. I kind of talked myself up. I was gonna say 25, but I kind of talked myself up to 50. But yeah, I think 50.
Yeah, I can definitely see them having that chance, but more than likely, honestly, I probably wouldn't see them called up yet, just because I don't think they're going to take 2 tag teams from the men's division, because then you're really stretching that division pretty. Then next up, we have Adriana Rizzo. What do you have for that? What do you think about her?
Yeah, part of the family once again, so I think she'll go right along with Stacks.
Yep. And then next up, I believe this is Bronco Nima, part of OTM, so we can kind of do them together. Probably less than Hank and Tank, so I can probably see a 25 or even a 0, to be honest.
Yeah, probably a 0 for me. Yeah, there's a lot of tag teams in NXT, and unfortunately, they're on the lower end of it, at least in my opinion.
And then next up, I believe this is Cutler James, a part of the new group. I forget what their faction name is, but yeah, I guess we kind of do that entire group all together.
Yeah, I mean, they're all 0 either way. They just started. They're brand new. Well, some of them aren't really necessarily new, but at least under a new gimmick. So, yeah, we'll leave them here.
Next up, we have Zarya.
Yeah, definitely could be called up for sure. However, I think she has a lot more in store for her in NXT. I think she could be a lot more accomplished in NXT for sure. She's great in that division. She's great with Sol Ruka at the moment. So why break that up?
Yeah, I'd probably put her at a 25% chance. I think it's kind of can definitely see her get that chance, but more than likely not.
Yeah.
But next up is Julia, who follows. And honestly, I think this is probably a 50% chance. Obviously, she just lost the women's division or women's world champions. So, and she seems to be injured, but some people are saying she's not injured. So, kind of interesting way they might do it. But what do we think?
I might even say 75, just because if they did make her drop the title and she isn't injured, then obviously that means they have something in store for her, because they're not making her sit for nothing. But I think, they have a lot in store for Julia, and I think she could get called up, but it might not be with the first batch of people that come. She might be like a Tiffany Stratton that might come a little later down the line.
Yeah. But next up, we have Jakara Jackson. Where do we think about her? We actually can do Lash Legend as well.
Yeah, she's kind of part of the main roster already in a way. She's had main roster matches. She's had main roster people come to NXT and do matches with her. And Lash Legend, of course. She's also just went to TNA and faced Spitfire there. So they've been doing a lot of great work. I'm excited for what they're going to do on the main roster. And I think they might be up there with Axiom. Honestly, it might be 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I was also going to put him in 100 as well, just because, like you said, we have seen him on the main roster already, so they already are kind of accustomed to that main roster crowd. So yeah, I think it would be a perfect time to give them the unofficial call-up.
Yeah, for sure.
And then next up, we have Javon Evans. Probably somebody pretty low just because I feel like they have big plans for him in NXT before he goes up to main roster.
Yeah, I'm gonna even go as far as saying 0. There's no chance that he comes up. He's definitely someone who I want to see with an NXT World Title, a North American Championship. I want him to win all of it. Man, this is the start to it, and he's just getting to that main event picture. He's starting to face the Obas and the Tricks and all that. So why bring him up before he gets accomplished?
Yeah. And then next up, we have Jasmine Nix. This is probably somebody who's probably in the 0 category, or maybe even 25.
Yeah, I could see 25 for sure, just because she could come up as part of the faction potentially, because they do like their factions on the main roster. So I will say 25 myself.
All right. Then next up, one of the new debutants for NXT, and that is Jordynne Grace.
Why not put her right up there with Julia? She's technically already appeared on the main roster multiple times as part of the Royal Rumble, so why not?
Yeah. Next up, we have Ren Sinclair. I guess we can do her singles, even though we can also do her as a New Catch Republic, or not New Catch Republic, North Quarter Catch Crew.
Yeah, I really like Ren Sinclair. She's someone who's been really improving. However, I think she could use one more year to develop a little bit more, get a little better on the promo side of things. But her in-ring work is great, and everything she does, honestly, I've really been liking in 2024.
Yeah. So yeah, probably 25%. You think?
Yeah.
Then Miles Bourne, I guess we can also do Tavion Heights with him as well.
For sure. And they'll both go in either 25 or 0. Probably 0, honestly, because they're not going to get called up. He just came back from a great stint in Noah, talking about Tavion Heights, of course. And now they're a pretty good tag team. They've been having interesting matches with Briggs and Inamura. So I'm excited to see what they do in the future for NXT.
And then next up, I think this is Nico from Sean Spears' group. Probably a 0.
Yeah, definitely going to be a 0.
And then Stephanie Vaquer follows. I would say, a high chance, but obviously she is the world champion, so obviously knock her down a little bit. But I don't think it's fully against the... I don't think it's a 0% chance, basically.
Yeah, I'll say 25, I think, because... she's going to be the next staple of the women's roster. At least that's the way I'm kind of looking at her. She's the staple of the women's division in NXT. And whenever she does get called up, she's probably going to be a staple of the women's division on the main roster as well. And I don't think they're ready for someone with that kind of caliber to come in already,
Yeah. And then next up, I believe this is Izzy Dame now. Probably somebody another pretty low. But what do we think?
Yeah, Izzy Dame. She's been pretty good. Hasn't done too much as of recent besides little kind of segments in between matches versus Rizzo. So I'm going to go ahead and say 0 because she is in an ongoing story. And yeah.
Yeah, and then next up we have JC Jane. I could see her maybe being in that in-between of her other faction mates at that 50% mark, to be honest.
Yeah, I think 50% is perfect for her. She's another person who's been there for quite a long time now, and she could be up at any moment.
Yeah, and then next up, Jada Parker.
Somebody who's new, but well, not really new, but she's been there for a little bit of time now. But, she's got pretty over at the moment. People love Jada Parker. I love Jada Parker. So I'm going to go ahead and put her at 50. Once again, she's another person who's debuted on the main roster at the Royal Rumble already. So good stuff for her, obviously.
Yeah. And then next up, we have Josh Briggs.
I'm going to say 0. Oh, well, no, I'll say 25% for Josh Briggs. I was going to say 0 because he's part of a tag team with Inamura right now. But as Josh Briggs himself, he could go up to 25.
Yeah, I can definitely see him probably more than likely staying in NXT. Like you said, this tag team with Inamura seems to be working out pretty good for him and getting him pretty good TV time. So no point to ruin that either. Then next up, I believe this is Carmen Petrovich. Probably another one of the low odds, just because she is somebody who has a kind of a story going on in NXT.
Yeah, she's with Shante Diadonis right now, and I forget who she's feuding with, but she is feuding with somebody, but she will be in 0.
Then next up, Kalani Jordan.
I love me some Kalani Jordan. She is awesome. However, at Stand and Deliver, she does have a North American title match, and she's definitely someone I can see winning that North American title. So I'm going to say 50% along with Cora Jade, I think.
Yeah, I could definitely see, I definitely agree that she's in that 50-50 tier just because I could see her staying and trying to maybe be more accomplished in NXT before they call her up, or just going up now because she is already, in my opinion, at least accomplished enough. And then next up, we have Alexis King, probably on the low end as well. Probably in that 25 to 0 range, if I'm being completely honest, but maybe 50%.
Yeah, I think I'll say 25% myself, just because I could see him getting called up as somebody who would kind of just work people and just gain experience as he goes, because he's not bad or anything like that. He sells pretty good, though, and that's kind of probably one of his best qualities at the moment. But he's getting better in ring. He's been putting on a better catalog recently, so I'll say 25.
Alright, and then next up we have a Lola Vice, somebody who will probably be in that match with Kalani Jordan at Stand and Deliver, so she's probably pretty low, but what do you think?
I'll say 50%. I'll say 25, actually. She's put on a few good matches, but they do a little too much with her MMA stuff and the underground matches. I don't really like all that, so she could use a little bit more time to get over a few things.
And then next up we have Luca Crucifino, but we're going to put him with his other family members. But then we have, I believe, Malik Blade, also falls, I think, with his tag team partner, Idris Enofe. But next up, Nikita Lyons.
One of my least favorite people in NXT for various different reasons. But yeah, I will put her in 0.
And then Noam Dar, that's somebody we haven't unfortunately seen, or unfortunately haven't seen very often recently. But what do we think?
Yeah, I do believe he is dealing with an injury. He was part of the metaphor with Lash Legend and Jakara or Mensa. However, you know, that's kind of fallen apart as far as them being a faction. But I am excited to see Noam Dar. He is really good in the ring. So I'll say 25, honestly. I could see him maybe being like a Royal Rumble call-up next year maybe, or something like that, because he is that good. And it would be cool to see him on that main roster.
Yeah, I'd almost want to put him in the 50 tier, because maybe they are just saying him for like a surprise call-up. But I feel like you would want to have built him up a little bit before he goes up to that main roster. And yeah, we haven't seen him in quite a while, so
I agree.
But yeah, next up, Obafemi, somebody who's going to be pretty low, not because of what their skill level says, but also just what they mean to the brand right now. So he's probably at that 0. Maybe we can put him a little higher, just because we could see him getting called up. But what do you think?
I'm almost thinking 50%, because he could get called up, because he is in a storyline with Trick and Javon, where either one could win this and become the champion. And if he does lose, that's kind of a sign to me that he will get called up. And if he does win, then obviously it's a sign that he's not going to get called up.
Yeah. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably put him at like a 25%.
Yeah, I think 50 or 25 is fine with me. Just because he is a staple. He's one of their most over people at the moment, outside of one or two other people. And yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah. And then next up, the new North American champion, Ricky Saints.
Unfortunately, going to be low. Probably going to be a next year guy, in my opinion. But I will give him the benefit of the doubt at 25.
Yeah, I think there is a chance that he can be one of those guys who get called up after the draft and kind of like a shake-up type of time zone. And yeah, next up, Rich Holland, probably another 0 for me.
Yeah, he's went from NXT to the main roster, back to NXT, and I think he's pretty much there to stay for the time being, so I'll say 0.
And then next up, we have Roxanne Perez.
As much as I want to say 100%, I don't know with the way things are going, but I'll still say 100%. It's going to happen. I'm going to stick to my guns. It's going to happen. But the way things have been looking the last few weeks, they just kind of stopped using her, so I don't really know exactly what's going on with her.
But then next up, we have Shawn Spears. Probably some against who's going to be pretty low on the chances.
Honestly, I could see him getting called up. He's another person that is ready for the main roster for sure. He has all the qualities to become that. However, the thing that's holding him back is he's part of that faction. He has a history, obviously, in the main roster already. So I think, you know, he could get called up, but he'll probably be in the 25 or 50 for me.
Yeah, I'll probably put him 25 just because I could see him getting split off from the group. And next up, Shotzi, a former member of the main roster, but is back in NXT.
Yeah, I'll put her fairly high because she is awesome. She's been in very big moments on the main roster. It's not like she was kind of like some of the other people who we've talked about who they barely use, randomly use. She was a main person. She was a part of Survivor Series, Royal Rumbles, main feuds, big feuds, everything. So, you know, it's shocking that she even kind of went back to NXT. So I think I'll put her at 75 because she definitely could get called up at any moment.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking as well, because I do think she is definitely deserving of it, but I could see them maybe not pulling the trigger just yet to maybe give her a singles champion before they want to call her up. But she could be one of the people I guys mentioned earlier that could get called up midway through the year as well. But next up, Sol Ruka.
Yeah, yeah, probably not. I'm going to put her on the low end. Matter of fact, I'll put her even at 0 because I do think she will be an amazing champion one day in NXT. She's really young, and there's a lot of potential for her to grow here.
Yeah, I probably would put her maybe a little higher just because I think there is a chance. But I do agree that it's not a very high chance either. Next up, Stevie Turner. Probably somebody's going to be another 0. She's kind of like a manager role right now for NXT. So, yeah, what do you think, though?
I believe she is also the general manager of Evolve at the moment. She took the spot from Robert Stone on the last episode, if you keep up with that. But yeah, I'm going to say 0%. Obviously, like we said, she's working in NXT, she's working in Evolve and doing all these cool things. So, keep her there.
Yeah. Next up, I believe this is Tatum Paxson. I think they're using old pictures. But for her, probably in that same tier, maybe as probably in the 50. Kind of, I guess, with Gigi Dolan, her other stablemate. What do we think?
Yeah, I think that's fine. She's had some matches in TNA recently, and she's the first TNA match, I think, now that I'm thinking of it. But yeah, definitely like Tatum Paxson.
Yeah, and then next up, Thea Hale.
I'm going to put her at 0 because I think she will come back, but under a new gimmick now that Chase U is over. So she'll have to kind of come back and develop that new gimmick.
Yeah. And then next up, Tony D'Angelo.
This is a tough one for me. I'm going to say 50.
Yeah, I could see the call-up happening. I think he spent quite a few years now in NXT, so I think it wouldn't be... I think he's ready for it, but maybe the character is what maybe holds him back, because maybe I don't trust the gimmick to work on the main roster, but who knows. Next up, though, Trick Williams.
Oof. Trick Williams. I mean, you could say go literally anywhere from 100 to 0 because he's in a world title match. He could win the world title. He is also one of the most over people and could be part of the main roster. So, what do you think for this one?
Yeah, I feel like, if I'm being honest, I don't think he's going to win at Stand and Deliver. So, for me, I don't think he'll be a champion anytime soon. However, I definitely think there's still a chance, obviously. But for me, if I had to put him in a slot, I probably would put him, honestly, that's 75, just because I could see him maybe doing one more year. But probably either 100 or 75 for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll lean to 100 myself and go with that. But moving on to Tyreek and Tyson, I believe their names are. But we're going to go with 0%. They are brand new faction and everything with Wesley, of course. And they're having great TNA matches and all that. So, let them keep developing and gaining new fans and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then the other member, they have Wes Lee. Probably has a chance, but maybe gets knocked down a few just because he is kind of, like we mentioned, with them. So maybe they want to keep him around with them for a little while longer. But he's also another person who's been on the NXT roster for years now and is definitely deserving of a main roster spot.
Yeah, Wesley's one of NXT's work rate people where he works very often. He's probably wrestled everyone on the roster at this point. He's moving on the TNA things even at the moment. So that's very cool of him to just keep doing all the things that he is doing in NXT because he obviously could just be called up at any moment. But yeah, I will say it's a tough one because I do like him in NXT. He's a great presence there. So maybe 50 or 25, but probably 50 for me.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking 50 as well because, like I said, I think it's not a lock that he'll go to main roster, but also I think the factor of him just being there for so long kind of adds a chance of finally getting that call up. But yeah. And then last but not least, we have Inamura. What do we think for his odds?
Yeah, gonna be 0%. Unfortunately, we have Josh Briggs, his tag team partner, at 25, so it would be wrong to put him anywhere above that.
Yeah. But yeah, I kind of agree with everybody on this. I think the only maybe person I'd maybe move up is Ethan Page. I think he's kind of a lock, but I think there is like a small chance of him not getting caught up either. But yeah, any changes you want to make?
No, not really. I like the list. Maybe Cora Jade could be a 75. At the same time, I think she's somebody who could accomplish a lot more in NXT before getting that big jump.
Yeah, but that is our odds for every NXT person on their chance of getting caught up. Let us know what you guys would change down in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching me this far, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will catch you guys in the next one.